Ambassador Junho stood in the center of the Galactic Council chamber, his hands clasped behind his back. The chamber was enormous, filled with representatives from 847 different alien species. Some floated in tanks of colored liquid, others sat on platforms of ice or fire. A few existed as clouds of gas contained in force fields. Junho had been coming to this place for 5 years, trying to make friends for Earth. Today felt different. The council chairman, a creature named Velcor that looked like a walking crystal formation, activated the main display. Junho's translator implant buzzed in his ear as Velcor began to speak. "We gathered today to address the human problem," Velcor announced. The words made Junho's stomach twist. Behind him, his security chief Minho tensed. Scientist Hana, who studied alien biology, touched Junho's shoulder gently. One by one, alien species stood to complain about humanity. The Clothi, who looked like giant insects, said humans mined asteroids too aggressively. The Varun, beings made of living crystal, called humans chaotic and unpredictable. The Fixari, who existed as intelligent gas clouds, brought up every war humans had fought in the past 200 years. There were 47 conflicts listed on the display screen. Junho tried to defend his species. He explained that humans were still learning. He reminded the council that Earth had only joined 50 years ago. He talked about human art, music, and literature. He mentioned the peace treaties humanity had signed. Nobody seemed to care. "The vote will now commence," Velcor declared. "Should humanity retain membership in the Galactic Council, or should Earth be expelled?" The display showed the results in real time. One by one, species voted. Red lights appeared for expulsion, green lights for keeping Earth. Junho watched as red light after red light filled the screen. His heart pounded. Minho's hand moved closer to his sidearm. Though weapons were forbidden here, 846 red lights, 1 green light. Only Earth voted for itself. "The decision is final," Velcor said, his crystal body reflecting the red glow. "Humanity is hereby expelled from the Galactic Council. All human colonies, stations, and ships beyond the Sol system must be withdrawn within 6 standard months. After that deadline, any human presence in galactic space will be treated as hostile." The chamber erupted in various sounds. Clicks, buzzes, chemical releases that smelled like burning plastic. The aliens were satisfied. Junho felt Hana's hand squeeze his shoulder harder. Minho whispered a curse in Korean. Junho activated his communicator. "This is Ambassador Junho to Earth Command. They voted us out. All of them." Back on Earth in a meeting room in Geneva, President Doyen received the news. Around the table sat his advisors. General Taehyun commanded Earth's military forces. Dr. Jiwoo ran all human scientific research. Minister Soman managed the colonies scattered across 34 star systems. "How many colonists do we have out there?" Doyen asked. 2.7 million, Soman replied, her voice tight. "Families, children, people who have lived on those worlds for generations." Taehyun slammed his fist on the table. "We should fight. Our fleet is strong. We have weapons they've never seen. And we would lose," Jiwoo said quietly. 846 species against 1. "The math doesn't work." Doyen stood and walked to the window. Outside, he could see the lights of the city. Billions of humans lived on Earth, going about their lives not knowing what had just happened. More billions lived on Mars, the Moon, the asteroid colonies, and the distant star systems. "We'll comply," Doyen said finally. "We'll bring everyone home, sir." Taehyun looked shocked. "We'll bring everyone home," Doyen repeated. "But we're going to make sure this never happens again. Jiwoo, I want every scientist working on defense. I want weapons, shields, and systems that will make the Sol system impossible to attack. Taehyun, pull back the fleet but don't decommission a single ship. Soman, start the evacuation protocols." "What are you planning?" Jiwoo asked. Doyen turned from the window. "They want us gone? Fine, we'll leave. But we're going to build a wall around our home that nothing in the galaxy can break through. And we're going to develop technology that will make them regret this vote." That night, Doyen addressed Earth. Every human in the Sol system and beyond watched on their screens. Doyen stood at a podium, the Earth visible through windows behind him. "My fellow humans," he began. "Today the Galactic Council voted to expel us. 846 species decided we don't belong. They've given us 6 months to leave all territory beyond our home system." He paused, letting the words sink in. "We will comply. We will bring our people home." But understand this, we are not retreating in shame. We are not accepting defeat. We are going home to become stronger. The galaxy has shown us that we can only trust ourselves. So we will build our own future. We will advance our own technology. And we will make sure that no one ever again can make us feel small. The evacuation began immediately. Across 34 star systems, humans packed their belongings. Colonial engineer Hyun supervised the shutdown of New Busan Colony, a settlement of 84,000 people. They had spent 20 years building homes, schools, and farms. Now they were leaving it all behind. Captain Yuna commanded a fleet of transport ships, moving families from mining stations to refugee vessels. She watched children cry as they left the only homes they'd ever known. Adults looked back at worlds they'd loved, knowing they'd never return. Scientist Jiho had a different job. He traveled to research stations, copying data and then destroying the facilities. Earth's technology couldn't be left for aliens to steal. He set explosives in laboratories where humans had made breakthroughs. He erased computer systems. It hurt to destroy years of work, but orders were orders. While the public evacuation continued, secret projects began. Dr. Jiwoo activated Project Fortress, converting asteroids into weapons platforms. General Taehyun launched Project Silence, developing stealth systems that would make human ships invisible. Minister Soman started Project Exodus, redesigning human civilization to need nothing from the galaxy. On Kepler 442b, a young girl named Suji helped her parents pack. She was 12 years old. This planet was her home. She had planted trees that were now bearing fruit. She had friends at school. She didn't understand why they had to leave. "Why do they hate us?" she asked her father. He knelt down to her level. "They don't hate us, Suji, they fear us. And fear makes people do cruel things. But we're going home? Yes, and we're going to make sure home is safe forever." 5 months passed. The last human transport ship crossed into Sol system space, carrying the final refugees. Behind them, automated systems activated. Millions of defense platforms came online. Weapons that had been built in secret now powered up. The Sol wall was complete. Junyo, who had returned from the council, stood on an observation deck watching the last ship arrive. Beside him, Minho monitored the defense systems. "It's done," Minho said. "Every human is home. And the wall is up," Junho nodded. "The galaxy wanted us gone. Now they'll forget we exist." "Good," Minho replied. "Let them forget. When they remember, we'll be ready." Far away in the Galactic Council chamber, Velcor filed the final report. The human problem was solved. Earth was isolated. The species would probably die out in a few generations without galactic support. He marked the file as closed and moved on to other business. He had no idea what humanity was building behind their wall. None of them did. 10 years had passed since the expulsion. In those 10 years, the Sol system had transformed into something the galaxy would not recognize. Chief Engineer Yoonji stood on the observation deck of Manufacturing Station 37, watching robotic constructors build another defensive platform. This was her life now. Building walls, making Earth safe. The Sol wall was complete, but it kept growing. Millions of automated weapons platforms floated in carefully calculated orbits. Each one could track and destroy incoming threats. Missile silos hid in asteroid belts. Energy mines drifted in patterns that looked random but were actually precisely planned. If any alien ship came close, 1,000 weapons would target it instantly. But the real defense was invisible. Yoonji had helped build what they called the Veil. Quantum-level electromagnetic shields surrounded the entire Sol system. To anyone outside, the system looked like a dead zone. Sensors showed static. Communication attempts vanished into nothing. Humanity had pulled a curtain around their home and disappeared from galactic view. One day, an alien merchant ship called the Prophet's Dream drifted too close while traveling between systems. Its navigator had made a calculation error. Suddenly, every screen on the ship lit up with the same message in 800 languages, including the merchant's native tongue. "The Sol system is closed. Humanity thanks the galaxy for its decision and wishes you well. Please adjust your course immediately." The merchant ship's captain, terrified, changed direction as fast as his engines allowed. He spread the story at every port. The humans were still alive, and they clearly wanted to be left alone. Inside the Sol system, life had changed dramatically. Mars now hosted 500 million people in underground cities and domed settlements. The planet's sky was slowly turning blue as terraforming projects continued. Children who had been born after the expulsion had never seen Earth's sky, and they thought the red Martian sunsets were normal. Around Jupiter and Saturn, massive orbital habitats spun in space. Each one housed millions of people. They looked like giant wheels, rotating to create artificial gravity. Gardens grew under artificial suns. Schools taught children who could see the stars through transparent ceilings. These people didn't think of themselves as living in space stations. This was just home. The asteroid belt had become humanity's factory. Thousands of mining stations pulled metals and minerals from rocks that had floated there for billions of years. Manufacturing facilities turned those raw materials into ships, weapons, habitats, and technology. No human labor was needed. Robots did the dangerous work while humans supervised from comfortable control rooms. Earth's population had stabilized at 8 billion. The planet had become a garden world, with cities designed around nature rather than fighting against it. With Mars and the habitats taking population pressure off, Earth could breathe. Parks replaced parking lots. Forests reclaimed abandoned suburbs. It was beautiful. But beneath the beauty was steel. Every human child now learned 3 things: engineering, combat, and survival. Schools taught kids how to fix life support systems, how to fight, and how to survive in hostile environments. The arts still flourished. Music, painting, literature, dance all thrived. But humanity had learned that beauty meant nothing if you couldn't defend it. They called it the never again doctrine. Never again would humanity be vulnerable. Never again would they depend on others for survival. Never again would they be expelled from anywhere. Minseo was 19 years old. She had been born just before the expulsion, so she had no memory of aliens or the Galactic Council. To her, the Sol Wall was just a fact of life, like gravity or oxygen. She was a fighter pilot, flying training missions between Mars and the asteroid belt. Her grandmother, Borum, had been a colonist on one of the expelled worlds. Sometimes Borum would tell stories about living among aliens, trading with different species, learning their languages. To Minseo, these stories sounded like fairy tales. Aliens weren't real to her generation. They were just monsters from history that had hurt humanity once. "Do you hate them?" Minseo asked one evening, sitting with Borum in their apartment on Mars. Borum thought about the question. "No, I don't hate them, but I'll never trust them again. They smiled at us, worked with us, and then voted us out. Every single one of them except us." "Why did they do it?" "Fear," Borum said. "They thought we were dangerous and unpredictable. And maybe they were right, but by pushing us away, they made us more dangerous than we ever would have been." Minseo nodded. She understood. Humans had spent 10 years developing weapons, shields, and systems that the galaxy had never imagined, all because they had been rejected. While humanity built their fortress, the galaxy moved on with its business. The Galactic Council had new problems to worry about. Trade disputes, border conflicts, resource shortages, the usual politics of hundreds of species trying to share space. Humans were rarely mentioned anymore. When someone did bring them up, it was usually as a joke or a cautionary tale. Don't be difficult or you'll get expelled like the humans. That sort of thing. Velcor had retired from his position as council chairman. He was old now, his crystal body showing cracks that came with age. Sometimes he wondered about the humans. Were they still alive? Had they survived isolation? He assumed they had probably regressed to a primitive state without galactic technology and trade. Maybe they had even destroyed themselves in some war. Either way, it wasn't his problem anymore. What Velcor didn't know was that human spy drones occasionally slipped through galactic space. They were tiny, invisible to sensors, and powered by technology the galaxy didn't have. They observed, recorded, and transmitted data back to Sol. Humanity watched the galaxy carefully, learning about new weapons, new ships, new alliances. They knew everything that happened in council space. The galaxy knew nothing about them. One such drone was controlled by intelligence officer Deho. He sat in a facility on Earth's moon, watching live feeds from 12 different star systems. His job was to make sure humanity was never surprised again. He watched alien ships, listened to communications, and filed reports. "Anything interesting?" his supervisor asked. "The Clothy Empire and Varun Collective are having trade problems," Deho replied. "Could turn into something bigger. Not our problem." "No," Deho agreed. "Not our problem, but good to know." Back in the galaxy, some species had started to forget humans entirely. The younger generation of aliens had never met one. Humans became almost mythical. Some species told stories about the violent, crazy species that got expelled. Others barely remembered them at all. At a minor council meeting, a young diplomat from a species called the Renthic asked, "Whatever happened to those humans everyone talks about?" The room fell silent for a moment. Then someone laughed. "They're probably extinct by now. They were too primitive to survive without galactic support. They needed our trade, our technology, our help. Cut off from all that, they probably destroyed themselves or starved." More laughter. The idea that humans had survived, let alone thrived, seemed ridiculous to these aliens. They had convinced themselves that expelling humanity had been the right choice, and that the problem had solved itself. If they could have seen inside the Sol system, they would have been terrified. Humanity hadn't just survived. They had evolved into something new, a species that had been forced to rely only on themselves, that had spent a decade building weapons and defenses, that had focused all their creative energy on becoming impossible to threaten. Minseo flew her fighter through an asteroid field, practicing combat maneuvers at speeds that would have killed most alien species. Her ship used inertial dampening technology that the galaxy didn't have. Her reflexes were enhanced through biological augmentation. Her weapons could destroy targets at ranges that alien ships couldn't even detect. She was one of 10,000 pilots just like her. Earth had hundreds of capital ships, thousands of destroyers, and tens of thousands of fighters, every single one invisible to conventional sensors. Every single one capable of destroying alien vessels that outnumbered them 10 to 1. And humanity wasn't planning to attack anyone. They just wanted to be left alone. But if anyone tried to breach the Sol wall again, they would learn what 10 years of isolation had created. They would learn that humanity, rejected and alone, had become the most dangerous thing in the galaxy. The galaxy had voted 846 to 1. They thought they were solving a problem. Instead, they had created something they couldn't imagine. Something patient, watching, and absolutely ready to defend itself. 30 years after humanity's expulsion, the galaxy was at war. The Klathi Empire and the Varun Collective had been arguing for years about trade routes and border systems. Small conflicts had become bigger ones. Now they were in full war, and it was terrible. 12 star systems had been devastated. Billions of aliens were dead. Refugees floated in space stations, hoping the fighting wouldn't reach them. The Klathi were losing badly. Their insect-like warriors were brave, but the Varun's crystal ships were too strong. Klathi Commander Rexith sat in his command ship, staring at casualty reports. His people were dying. He needed an advantage, something the Varun didn't expect. That's when he remembered the stories. Old database files mentioned humans, the species expelled 3 decades ago. Humans had been violent, militaristic, and creative with weapons. Maybe they had left something behind. Some technology, some weapons cache, something that could help the Klathi win this war. "Set course for the Sol system," Rexith ordered. "We're going to see if the humans left us any gifts." His second officer looked nervous. "Sir, that system is restricted. The Treaty of Expulsion forbids entry." "The humans are gone," Rexith said. "Dead or scattered. What does it matter?" He assembled a battle group of 12 warships. Heavy cruisers with powerful weapons. They would breach the veil, scan the system for technology, and leave. Simple. Quick, what could go wrong? The Klathi fleet approached the boundary of Sol space. Their sensors showed nothing but static, just as the old records described. Rexith ordered his ships to use brute force scanning, overwhelming the interference with raw power. The veil flickered. Sensors started getting readings, planets, stations, and then ships. "Lots of ships, sir," his sensor officer said, voice shaking. "I'm reading. Thousands of defense platforms and habitats. The system is full of life." Before Rexith could respond, something appeared on his view screen. A single ship, sleek and black, that seemed to swallow light. It had appeared from nowhere. His sensors had shown empty space 1 second and the ship the next. A communication came through. A human voice speaking perfect Klathi language. "You have violated Sol space. You have one opportunity to leave." The voice belonged to Captain Minseo. She was 30 years old now, commander of the stealth destroyer Resolute. This was the moment she had trained for her entire life. An actual alien threat. Her crew was ready. Her weapons were charged. She waited for the response. Rexith was shocked, but he was also desperate and arrogant. "Human vessel, this is Commander Rexith of the Klathi Empire. We require any weapons technology you possess. Refuse and you will face the might of the Klathi military." Minseo's eyes narrowed. She looked at her tactical officer, Taeyang. He shook his head in disbelief. These aliens had invaded human space and were making demands. Commander Rexith, Minseo said calmly, you declared us unwelcome 30 years ago. We accepted. Your war is not our concern. Depart or be removed. Rexith made his fatal mistake. He saw one human ship against 12 clothy cruisers. The math seemed simple. You think one ship can threaten 12? Open fire. The clothy ships powered their weapons. Energy built in their main cannons. Rexith smiled. The humans would learn respect. Then all 12 clothy ships exploded, simultaneously in exactly 1.3 seconds. The defense platforms that Minseo had positioned around the enemy fleet while they talked fired perfectly synchronized shots. Each projectile was a tungsten rod traveling at 90% light speed. They punched through shields like paper and detonated reactors. The explosions were so fast that the clothy crews probably never knew what killed them. Minseo watched the debris scatter into space. Record all data. Send it to command. Begin recovery operations for any survivors. There was one survivor. A junior technician named Crithen had been in an escape pod when his ship exploded. He was picked up by a human rescue ship. He was terrified, shaking in his restraints as humans in dark uniforms stood around him. You're safe, one human said. We'll return you to your people. But you need to understand something. You came to our home with weapons and demands. We could have let you leave. Commander Rexith chose violence. Tell your people what happened here. Crithen was released at a neutral station. He immediately contacted Clothy Command. His report was brief and terrifying. The humans were alive, advanced, and incredibly dangerous. They had destroyed 12 warships in seconds with weapons that seemed like magic. The Varun Collective intercepted Clothy communications about the incident. Their analysts studied the data. The human ship had been invisible until it chose to reveal itself. The defense platforms had fired with perfect precision. The technology was decades ahead of anything in galactic space. News spread quickly across the galaxy. At first, nobody believed it. Humans were supposed to be extinct or primitive, but the data was real. Sensor logs, survivor testimony, debris analysis showing weapons technology that shouldn't exist. The Galactic Council called an emergency session. The new chairwoman, Yenth, demanded answers. She activated a communication channel to Sol Space, using old protocols from before the expulsion. To her surprise, someone answered. Intelligence Director Deho appeared on the screen. He was 50 years old, calm and professional. He had been watching the galaxy for decades. Now the galaxy was finally looking back. Chairwoman Yenth, Deho said politely. How may I help you? The Clothy report that you destroyed their ships, Yenth said. We need an explanation. They violated our space, Deho replied simply. They were warned. They attacked. We defended ourselves. The Treaty of Expulsion gives us that right. The treaty assumed you would be weak, needing protection, a Fexari delegate said. Not that you would have advanced weapons. Deho smiled slightly. What we do in our own system is not your concern. You expelled us. We complied. We have not left our space. We have not threatened any galactic territory. We simply wish to be left alone. You destroyed 12 warships in seconds, Yenth said. That's not defense. That's overwhelming force. Yes, Deho agreed. We learned from our expulsion. You taught us that survival requires strength. We will tolerate no intrusions. Anyone who enters Sol space without permission will be treated as hostile. We recommend you update your navigation charts accordingly. The council chamber erupted in arguments. Some species demanded immediate action. Others counseled caution. A few suggested offering humanity a chance to rejoin the council under supervision. Deho listened to the chaos for a moment, then spoke again. 30 years ago, you voted 846 to 1 to remove us. We were hurt, but we understood. You feared what we might become. That fear has been realized, but not in the way you imagined. We don't want to conquer you. We don't want revenge. We want peace. Leave us alone and we'll leave you alone. It's very simple. And if we refuse? A Varun delegate asked. If we decide that an isolated, advanced humanity is too dangerous? Deho's expression hardened. Then you will learn exactly how dangerous we are. Humanity learned an important lesson 30 years ago. We were vulnerable because we trusted the galaxy's goodwill. That vulnerability has been permanently corrected. Test our resolve at your extreme peril. The communication ended. The council chamber was silent. Then the argument started again, louder this time. The hawkish Vexari delegates pushed for action. They argued that advanced humans were a threat that needed to be controlled. The more cautious species pointed out that 12 ships had been destroyed in seconds. What would happen if the entire human fleet engaged? The debate lasted for weeks. Intelligence services from dozens of species tried to gather information about Sol system. Their spy drones disappeared. Their scouts never returned. The veil remained impenetrable to anything except human technology. The galaxy could learn nothing about humanity's true capabilities. Finally, a vote was called. The resolution was simple. Assemble a galactic enforcement fleet and force Sol system to open its borders for inspection and supervision. It was presented as a security measure for the good of all species. The vote was 512 in favor, 335 against. The resolution passed. On Earth, Admiral Taehyun watched the vote with President Jihai, who had succeeded Do-yoon 5 years earlier. Taehyun was old now, in his 80s, but his mind was sharp. He had spent 3 decades preparing for this moment. "Can we win?" Jihai asked. Taehyun smiled grimly. "Madam President, they're about to learn why isolating humanity was the biggest mistake the galaxy ever made. They think they understand what we've become. They don't, not even close. What are our orders?" Jihai asked. "We follow Protocol Olympus," Taehyun said. "We let them come. We show them what we are, and then we offer them one chance to leave in peace. If they refuse," he trailed off, "if they refuse, then we remind the galaxy why they feared us in the first place." The Galactic Enforcement Fleet gathered at the edge of Sol space 6 months after the vote. It was the largest military force ever assembled in recorded history. 5,000 warships from 200 different species, cruisers, battleships, carriers, and destroyers, enough firepower to destroy entire planets. The fleet stretched across space like a metal ocean. Faerun Admiral Kethril commanded the fleet from his flagship. He was experienced, respected, and confident. He had fought in dozens of battles. He believed that this show of force would convince the humans to surrender without fighting. After all, what could one species do against 200? "All ships report ready," his communications officer said. "We have visual confirmation of the Sol system boundary." "Begin approach," Kethril ordered. "Weapons charged but not targeted. We want them to know we're serious, but we're not here to massacre them. Scan for defense platforms and military vessels." The fleet moved forward, breaching the veil. Their sensors flickered, then cleared. Data flooded in. The system was full of habitats, stations, and ships. But something was wrong. There were no weapons targeting them. No defense platforms powering up. No military response at all. "Sir," the sensor officer said, confused. "I'm detecting extensive civilian infrastructure. Orbital habitats, manufacturing stations, transport ships. But no military response. No weapons lock, nothing." Kethril frowned. Intelligence had said the humans destroyed 12 Clothy ships in seconds. Where were the defenses? "Send scouts forward. Map the system. Find their military assets." Scout ships broke formation and moved deeper into the system. They passed Mars, saw the massive habitats around Jupiter and Saturn, detected the busy asteroid belt. Life was everywhere. Humans going about their business, but no military presence. "This doesn't make sense," Kethril said. "Where are their weapons?" That's when every ship in the enforcement fleet experienced simultaneous systems failure. Weapons went offline. Navigation scrambled. Life support flickered. 5,000 warships suddenly became 5,000 floating coffins. Panic spread through the fleet as crews tried desperately to restore systems. Then Admiral Minho's face appeared on every screen in every ship simultaneously. He was 65 years old, gray-haired, and calm. He had been Junho's security chief during the expulsion. Now he commanded humanity's defense forces. "Greetings," Minho said pleasantly. "Your ships are currently under our complete control. We have disabled your weapons but left life support functional. You are not prisoners. You are guests who arrived uninvited. We are going to show you why we were content to leave your council." Kethril tried to respond, but his communication systems wouldn't work. He could only watch and listen. Around him, his bridge crew struggled with dead controls. Nothing responded. The humans had somehow seized control of every system on every ship. Human ships began to decloak throughout the enforcement fleet. They had been there the entire time, invisible, studying every alien vessel. Sleek black destroyers materialized between the alien ships. Cruisers appeared from nowhere. Fighter craft surrounded the fleet in perfect formations. "Let me show you what 30 years of isolation created." Minho continued. First, our fighter craft. A squadron of human fighters performed maneuvers that should have been impossible. They accelerated at speeds that would turn most alien species into paste from the G-forces. They twisted, turned, and danced through space with perfect precision. Their pilots were biologically enhanced, their reflexes superhuman, protected by inertial dampening technology that the galaxy had never developed. Next, our weapons systems. A human cruiser, the Indomitable, commanded by Captain Senna, fired a single shot. The projectile crossed 3 light minutes in seconds, traveling at 90% the speed of light. It struck an uninhabited moon in the outer system. The moon exploded, continent-destroying force in a single shot. The alien crews watching their screens went pale, or whatever their species equivalent was. Now let me explain our technological capabilities, Minho said. A scientist named Ji-Wan appeared on screen beside him. She was in her 50s, and she had spent 3 decades pushing human science forward. We've developed quantum entanglement communication, Ji-Wan explained. Instant messaging across any distance. We have fusion-fission hybrid drives that give our ships twice the speed of standard galactic vessels. Our combat AI is neural-linked, responding to pilot thoughts in microseconds. We've weaponized gravity manipulation. We can create localized black holes as defensive measures, and as you've noticed, our stealth technology makes us invisible to all known sensors. She paused, then added, We didn't develop these things to attack you. We developed them because you rejected us. You forced us to become self-sufficient, and we exceeded even our own expectations. Minho took over again. We don't want war. You forced us into isolation and we thrived. We're showing you this so you understand. Leave us alone. We will not join your councils. We will not fight your wars. We will not submit to your authority. The galaxy is yours. Sol is ours. On a Fexari vessel, a young officer named Ventar whispered to his commander. They didn't just survive. They became apex predators. The commander couldn't argue. Everything they were seeing confirmed it. Humanity had transformed from a rejected species into something terrifying, and they had done it quietly, patiently, behind their wall. Admiral Kethril finally managed to get his communication systems back. The humans had returned control. Human commander, I request negotiation. Granted, Minho replied. We'll meet at the old neutral station where we were expelled. Seems appropriate. 2 weeks later, President Ji-Hai arrived at the neutral station with a delegation including Minho and the elderly Junho, who was now 80 years old, but had insisted on attending. Kethril came with representatives from the major species in the enforcement fleet. The negotiation room was tense. Kethril tried to maintain dignity despite having just been completely outmatched. President Ji-Hai, the Galactic Council acknowledges humanity's technological advancement. However, your isolation creates instability. The galaxy needs transparency for mutual security. Ji-Hai, sitting calmly with her hands folded, responded firmly. Admiral, you judged us unpredictable and dangerous 30 years ago. You were right, but we were also sincere in seeking partnership. You rejected that. Now you face the consequences of your choice. A humanity that owes you nothing, fears you not at all, and wishes only to be left in peace. A Varun delegate spoke up. We require assurances, technology sharing, military cooperation agreements, inspection rights. Junho stood slowly. His body was old, but his voice was strong. We offer one thing, a treaty of absolute non-interference. We will not expand beyond Sol. We will not attack any galactic territory. In exchange, no species enters our space, ever. And if we refuse? A Fexari delegate demanded. Then we respond with total war, Junho said quietly. Not a war of conquest. A war of annihilation. We have 30 years of weapons development you cannot imagine. We have technology that makes your fleets obsolete. We have billions of humans who have grown up learning that the galaxy rejected them, and they are ready to defend their home. You would threaten 847 species? Kethril asked, shocked. We would end 847 species, Junho replied. Not from hatred, from necessity. You taught us that survival requires strength and isolation. We learned well. You created us, Admiral. Every weapon we have, every system we've built, every advancement we've made exists because you voted 846 to 1 against us. The room fell silent. The alien delegates looked at each other. Some were angry. Some were frightened. All of them understood that humanity was completely serious. Old Velcor had been brought out of retirement for this meeting. He was ancient now, his crystal body barely holding together. He spoke with difficulty. You would really do this? Destroy everyone? Junio looked at him. Chairman Velcor, you were there when you expelled us. You remember how we begged to stay, how we promised to do better. Do you remember our faces when you voted us out? Velcor nodded slowly. We remember too, Junho said. We remember every species that voted against us. We're not asking to rejoin you. We're not asking for apologies. We're asking to be left alone. Give us that and we'll live in peace. Force us to defend ourselves, and you'll discover that cornered humans are the most dangerous thing in existence. The negotiations lasted 3 more weeks. Species argued, threatened, and bargained. But in the end, they had no choice. The enforcement fleet had been completely neutralized. Human capabilities were beyond anything they could match. Fighting would be suicide. The Treaty of Sol was drafted. Humanity would remain in their system. No expansion. No galactic involvement. In exchange, a 2-light-year exclusion zone around Sol. Any violation would be considered an act of war. A neutral monitoring station at the boundary, jointly staffed to prevent misunderstandings. The galaxy agreed because they had no other option. They had created something they couldn't control, and now they had to live with it. Humanity had become exactly what they feared. Dangerous, advanced, and completely independent. As the alien delegates left, Jihai stood with Minho and Junho, watching through the station windows as the enforcement fleet departed. Did we win? 20 years had passed since the Treaty of Sol was signed. The galaxy had learned to live with humanity's isolation, though some species still grumbled about it. Young Officer Suji stood at the monitoring station on the boundary between Sol space and the rest of the galaxy. She was 52 years old now, a career diplomat who had never expected this assignment. The monitoring station was neutral territory, jointly operated by humans and representatives from various alien species. Suji's job was to make sure nobody crossed the line accidentally, and to maintain communication channels if problems arose. It was usually boring work. Most days, nothing happened. Today, a clathy merchant ship had drifted too close to the boundary. Suji contacted them politely, reminded them of the exclusion zone, and they apologized and changed course. Simple, professional, the way things were supposed to work. Suji's assistant was a young Varun named Kyleth. They worked well together, despite being from species that had once been on opposite sides of a vote. Kyleth had been born after the expulsion. To his generation, humans were just another species, albeit a mysterious one. Do you ever wonder what it's like in there? Kyleth asked, gesturing towards Sol space. What humans have built? Suji smiled. I grew up in there. It's beautiful. Cities on Mars, habitats around the gas giants. Earth is a garden now, clean and green. We have 45 billion people all living well. And the weapons everyone talks about? Those exist too, Suji admitted. We're ready to defend ourselves. But mostly life is peaceful. People work, raise families, create art, normal life. Kyleth nodded. My people say we made a mistake expelling you. Maybe, Suji said. Or maybe it worked out the way it needed to. We're happy. You're safe from us. Everyone wins. But Suji sometimes wondered about that herself. Her parents had been expelled from their colony when she was a child. They had built a home among aliens, had alien friends, participated in galactic culture. Now she stood at a wall, keeping those same species away. Was that progress? Inside Sol space, not everyone was satisfied with isolation. At Earth's largest university, a student named Kyung led a growing movement of young people who wanted to engage with the galaxy again. They called themselves the Bridge Builders. The galaxy made a mistake 50 years ago, Kyung argued in a debate hall filled with students. They voted based on fear, but they've had 50 years to learn. Some of them regret what they did. Shouldn't we give them another chance? Her opponent in the debate was Professor Hyunsik, who had lived through the expulsion. The vote was 846 to 1. That wasn't a mistake. That was a clear statement. They didn't want us. Why should we trust them now? Because holding grudges forever is no way to live, Kyung replied. We're strong now. We're safe. We can engage with the galaxy on our terms, from a position of strength. We can trade, share culture, learn from each other. Isn't that better than hiding forever? The debate continued for hours. Students were divided. Some agreed with Kyung. Others thought isolation was safer. The older generation mostly sided with continued separation. They remembered the pain of rejection. President Jihai, now in her final term, watched recordings of these debates with interest. She had spent 20 years maintaining the status quo, peace through strength, isolation through choice. But she wondered if the next generation would want something different. At a meeting with her advisors, Jihai raised the question, should we consider limited engagement with the galaxy? Controlled trade? Cultural exchanges? Admiral Minseo, who now commanded all human defense forces, was cautious. Any opening creates vulnerability. We've spent 50 years making ourselves impregnable. One crack in the wall could lead to disaster. But complete isolation has costs too, argued Education Minister Wu Jin. Our young people have never met an alien. They don't understand why we're separate. Some think we're being paranoid. The cultural richness we lost when we withdrew. Can we really give that up forever? The galaxy voted to expel us, reminded Foreign Minister Taeon. They made that choice. We adapted. Now they want us back because we're powerful. That's not friendship. That's opportunism. Jihai listened to all sides. The debate reflected the larger question humanity faced. Were they protectors who had been wronged? Or had they become so focused on defense that they'd forgotten how to connect? In galactic space, opinions about humanity were mixed. Some species, particularly the younger generations, were curious. Others remained fearful. A few were angry that humans had become so powerful. At a galactic council session, representatives discussed humanity carefully. Chairperson Lyson, who had taken over after Yenth retired, addressed the chamber. The Treaty of Sol has held for 20 years. Lyson said, humans have kept their word. No expansion. No aggression. Perhaps it's time to consider diplomatic outreach. They humiliated our enforcement fleet, a Fexari delegate said bitterly. They showed us weapons we can't match. They're a threat. They're a threat if we make them one, a Clothy representative countered. They want peace. We should give them peace. The debate went nowhere. Some species wanted engagement. Others wanted continued separation. A few wanted to try forcing humanity open again, though they were quickly reminded what happened last time that was attempted. One afternoon, humanity's monitoring systems detected something unusual. A massive anomaly in deep space beyond galactic territory. Something huge was approaching from intergalactic space. Analysis suggested it was artificial. Ships, thousands of them, from somewhere else. Commander Taeyang, grandson of the tactical officer who had fought in the first confrontation with the Clothy, reviewed the data. This is bad. Whatever's coming, it's hostile. They've already destroyed 2 border systems. Send the data to galactic authorities, Admiral Minseo ordered. This isn't our problem, but they should know. The Galactic Council received the data and confirmed it. An extragalactic invasion force was approaching. The species were terrified. Their fleets were scattered. Their best weapons had proven insufficient against the invaders' technology. Billions of lives were at risk. At an emergency council session, a young Varun delegate made a suggestion. What about the humans? They have advanced technology. Maybe they could help. The chamber fell completely silent. Ask the humans for help? The species they'd expelled. Would they even care? Chairperson Lyson made the difficult call. Contact Sol Space. Request a meeting. Explain the situation. Ask for their assistance. The message reached President Jihai. She convened her cabinet. The images from the border systems were horrific. Planets burned. Billions dead. The invaders were merciless. They expelled us, Minister Taeyan said. Why should we help them? Because they're people, Kyung argued. She had been invited to the meeting as a representative of the younger generation. Innocent people who are dying. We have the power to help. Don't we have an obligation? Admiral Minseo was torn. Our doctrine is defense. We protect Seoul. Getting involved in galactic wars was exactly what we wanted to avoid. This isn't a galactic war, Jihai said quietly. This is an extinction event. If the invaders win, they'll come here eventually. And morally, can we watch billions die when we might be able to help? The debate lasted for days. Humanity was divided. Some wanted to help. Others said the galaxy had made its choice 50 years ago and should live with it. A few saw it as an opportunity to demonstrate superiority. Finally, Jihai made her decision. We'll help, but on our terms. We don't join the galactic fleet. We don't take orders from the council. We coordinate, share intelligence, and fight where we choose. And after this is over, the treaty remains. We're helping because it's right, not because we're rejoining their community. She sent a message to Chairperson Lyson. Humanity will assist in defending against the extragalactic threat. Send us all intelligence you have. We'll coordinate our own operations. The council was shocked and grateful. They had expected rejection. Instead, humanity was willing to help, even after everything that had happened. As human ships prepared to leave Sol space for the first time in 50 years, Suji watched from the monitoring station. Massive warships invisible to sensors, armed with weapons beyond anything the galaxy had seen. They were going to war. Her people were going to save the species that had once rejected them. Will you come back? Kyleth asked. Yes, Suji said. We'll come back. We always come back home. Admiral Minseo led the human fleet. Minseo was 70 years old now, but still sharp. She remembered the stories of expulsion from her grandmother. She remembered the debates about isolation. Now she was leading humanity back into galactic space. All ships, this is Admiral Minseo. She broadcast. We're about to engage an enemy that threatens the galaxy. Remember your training. Remember why we're here. Not for glory, not for the council. For the innocent people who are dying. For the principle that when you have power, you have responsibility. Humanity was rejected, but we never lost our humanity. Show them what that means. The human fleet jumped to the front lines. The invaders had never seen anything like them. Human ships appeared from nowhere, struck with impossible precision and vanished before retaliation. Weapons that bent space and time. Technology that seemed like magic. The tide of battle began to turn. The galaxy watched in awe as the species they'd expelled. The species they'd forgotten.